if you listen to the terminology they're using, National Defense Authorization Act, well, you go to a theater and you watch an act. There's actors. They're doing an act. It's fictitious law, but they use it against you in a real way. But if you don't understand the law and if you're brought up on any stupid charge, they have you. But it's still an act. Like the Military Commissions Act, Patriot Act, these are all fictitious maritime statutory acts. They're not in real, like, common law, if you will. They're not permissible under any law. They're just an act. But unfortunately, the majority of Americans don't understand law, so they give up their rights and they go to jail voluntarily. That's basically how the law works in this country for the many decades. Through the Maternity Act, they gave us all a birth certificate. So now we're products of maritime admiralty corporate law, fictitious law. So this is how they can give us tickets and do all this evil stuff and act like they have subject matter jurisdiction where they actually have zero jurisdiction. So they trick you into making pleas and entering into contracts, and it's all fraud. Don't participate. In other words, don't participate in the banking system. Don't participate. If your mortgage is corrupt, which most of them are, find somebody like me that can point out the fraud within your mortgage and remedy situation. And if we all start taking an active role in doing that, the system, their corrupt system, will collapse. But as long as everybody's volunteering and going to the courthouse with their ticket and saying, yeah, I plead guilty to statutory, these are all statutes. There's 65 million with an M, 65 million statutes. So we have been in a police state for decades. A police state doesn't mean there's a cop out in front of your house every minute or that there's a roadblock everywhere. A police state simply means that every single thing you do is policed. It's been that way for decades, and now it's just so in your face. So you're under admiralty law. Admiralty is the technology they use. That's the cops, the bailiffs with the gun and the taser and the tear gas. That's the admiralty technology that's being used physically to enforce fictitious law. And that's how it basically works in a nutshell. So you're saying you're taking an oath to the Bar Association, which has nothing to do with America or the Constitution, and at the same time you're taking an oath to uphold the Constitution. The oxymoron from where, and most of them have waken up to it because they realize this isn't right. I know a handful of judges right here in Michigan, and unfortunately they sign with the Bar, which stands for British Accredited Register. Okay. But when they were young and they did that, they didn't realize they were getting in bed with the devil, and that they've woken up. The younger generation, they see right through this left and right paradigm, so it's coming to an end, and they know it. So they're acting fast to bring about whatever nuttiness they're trying to bring about. So this is the good news. This is the hope, because everybody goes, oh, it's just going to get worse, and when I have this draconian, tyrannical police state, which we already have that. But it's coming to an end. There's a wall. I can see the wall. And they know it. They see the wall. They can see it clearer than us because they're up in a high tower drinking, expensive whatever. That's the hope. That's the good part. This isn't sustainable, this tyrannical behavior, these lies. And here's what I hear on a lot of alternative radio, which is pushing a lot of fear. Fear. You need this. You need a water filter. You need vitamins. And that's probably all true. But the point is, America's military, America's government, if you will, FEMA, etc., they couldn't even handle Katrina. Okay? They couldn't even disarm Afghanistan. They couldn't even disarm Iraq. These are third world tribal people that live in clay brick houses for the most part. And if they're so inept that they can't disarm these third world countries, they can't even take care of one city in Louisiana, much less a few counties. I think we need to quit pushing the fear agenda, like somehow they're powerful enough to actually take away the guns of 175 million people? That's just.
I think you're right.
That's stupid.
Well, think about
it's not logistically, militarily, or it's just not possible. It's not logistically possible to put tens of millions of people in concentration camps. I'm sorry.
And think about who's already awake. Excellent word that Thomas Jefferson used in the Kentucky Resolutions called nullify. This is taking your local governments, and this is the approach PANDA uses to stop NDAA. This is taking your local governments and having them exercise, especially your counties or your sovereign states, and having them exercise their power to nullify an unconstitutional federal law. And with this nullification, you bring a community together. When communities are able to operate on their own without outside influence, then what you have done is you have protected that community.
Right,
and
exactly.
Part of that is nullifying NDAA, using the county sheriff to enforce that, keeps that enforcement in the community. Buying locally grown foods, keep your food in the community.
It's not logistically possible to put tens of millions of people in concentration camps.
The thing to remember, and no, I'm not trying to induce any fear, but the thing to remember is be realistic. If you are at a game show, and this happens to people all the time, the host will say, double or nothing. You double your money now or you walk away with nothing. You can do it, or you can walk away with this little amount of cash you already got. A lot of people will double or nothing. They probably have no chance of ever getting that double cash, but they're still going to try.
Right.
And these preparations that they put together, being realistic.
Okay.
Although they can't pull it off, they're still going to try.
That's a good point.
Nazi Germany, and I know it's the elephant in the room when I was in speech and debate, they said that you never refer back to Hitler or Nazi Germany, but that's where we are today. They had terrorist watch lists, but there was no one on them. They would pick random people off of the street and say that they were on a terrorist watch list, and that's why they were searched, and that's why they were detained. But there was never, ever a watch list.
Really?
So the thing to think about is we have a terrorist watch list no one has ever seen. And but the very fact that they say there's a watch list changes people's behavior and changes people's actions.
Here.
Mm-hmm.
People say, oh, we're in such a gridlock in our nation. There's such gridlock. Nobody can agree on everything. So, well, if no one can agree on everything, explain to me how bills like NDAA, that was 93-7 in the Senate, and H.R. 347, which restricted the right to protest, that's the Federal Restricted Buildings and Grounds Act, how that passed through the Senate 97-0.
Is that the one where the Secret Service can arrest you? I'm sorry, is that the one where the Secret Service can arrest you even if you're in the vicinity and you don't even know there's a head of state in the area you can be detained?
Correct.
Okay,
now,
sorry, go ahead.
Like I said, he makes a very good point there. They come together on these issues. No one can tell me that this Congress was not complicit in NDAA and is not bipartisan. In fact, they might as well just be one party because of the way they are so easy to come together on bills like H.R. 347, no fanfare, no coverage, and no signing statement even. Slipped right through, and only 3 dissent out of 535 members. You make a very good point there, sir.
It's coming to an end. All this tyranny and this cutthroat system of capitalism, which it's just gotten out of control, where you're selling things at 500% markup, they're ripping off the poor kid from McDonald's. It's all coming to an end. In a lot of ways, it's good because all these tyrannical people, historically, these corporate fascists, and that's what they are, Rockefeller, name them all, and then you have Brzezinski working for him, a science advisor, how to kill us all. Historically, they all implode under their own arrogance.
Mm-hmm.
And here's some really good news about radiation, which I can back this up scientifically. It can be negated, and this shows Congress is ceremonial. I mean, they have no power. They're a joke. They know who puts the butter on their English muffin, okay? They have the technology to negate radiation right now in 24 hours, and they're not using it. They won't sign the paperwork. You have to ask yourself why. Who's in control? Research A.C. Griffiths and follow his bibliography, the people he worked with in World War II and stuff. And I'll tell you, this is a fact. I think weighable, measurable fact. They can negate radioactive isotopes, and they're not doing it because they want to depopulate people.
I was at a seminar that was taught by the ambassador to Finland, U.S. ambassador to Finland. And what I did is I said, okay, look, I don't mean to be accusational, but over 1,000 patents have been confiscated by the government. These are patents that save us energy, 100-mile-gallon carburetors, water engines, etc. Families of inventors have been harassed. He said, don't look for the U.S. government to do anything with policy regarding energy. They'll talk about it, but we can't do it. We are not powerful enough. Those people are too dangerous. Apparently, the energy cartel, and this is coming from the U.S. ambassador to Finland, and he actually opened up and confirmed my suspicion that it is real. And on the second point, the source of these laws are corporations, and one entity that is putting together these laws for corporations is called ALEC. It's the American Legislative Executive Commission, and it was set up by the Koch brothers in the 70s. And what it is they got high-powered lawyers. They meet every 6 months with corporation people and with legislators. And what they do is they set up these laws that are friendly to the corporation, and then they pass them on to legislators, and legislators put their name on it. Such laws are, for instance, the union-busting laws in Wisconsin, and also the laws that have to do with communication that have reduced our freedom. I spend a lot of time going through, and it's all interrelated. Energy, UFOs, extraterrestrial, the control, the elite, the Federal Reserve, it's all interrelated.
Have extraterrestrials been controlling humanity throughout all of modern history? I think the possibility is quite real.